So I'm here with Dino, and we're going to look at fixing these seats. So Dino, what's wrong with these seats?
They just need some listings on the back of them and just being pulled in a bit more and just a bit of a clean. We'll take them off and give them a wash.
So I've got these bases done before and powder coated, so they should be good for another set we're going to do.
Yeah.
And this has been obviously pre-foamed before, but are you going to keep that or change it, or what do you reckon?
No, I'm going to take it off and maybe fix up the whatever's damaged underneath.
I'm going to be doing two sets of seats. The first set we're doing here is seat set 1 passenger seat, and that's just going to be taken apart so I can get the fabric washed. So there's some clips here and some prongs holding the vinyl in place, and then some cardboard just around the edges.
So these are the listings, the listing bars that hold the seat to give it that shape, that form.
There are a few hooks here that hold everything in place.
This is what holds the insert of the seats down. So it holds, it pushes all these down.
And now just to untuck the fabric and then undo this hook on each side. Dino's cutting the listings out. I'm now soaking the seats in nappy sand and then wash them in the washing machine on a very low and light setting. So this is seat set 2. It's made from bits and pieces I found over time, and it has a big cigarette burn there.
I'll cut that out square.
Yep.
And just fill it in with some new pink stuff.
There's a small rip on the seam there, so Dino's going to clean that up and cut away any excess, but of course we've lost a bit of material, so he's sewing it closer together. When you turn it over, you can see there's a little bit of warpness as the way it's kind of sits. So he's going to use another stitch here, and it will give an optical illusion of it actually being straight, and it's such a good job, as well as exactly the right color. He's now getting all the large chunks of foam off from the last repair and now cutting out the cigarette burn section of the pad. With a piece of replacement foam now glued in, it can now be shaped with the sander. With new listings being sewn in and then these listing bars being put back in place. And tucking in the listing bars into the cavity. And then turning the base over and securing them with these hooks. You can now see the material taking shape to the seat. We have to be really careful because the material is quite old. And then just tucking the vinyl onto these hooks at the back and hammering them on. Dino's now spraying the back of the chair with some glue and then reattaching the seat lever. And then this thin layer of foam just goes on top of the back where the glue was and then cut away the excess foam. And then to attach new straps to the listings. Beginning to put the seat cover onto the base and then pull the straps through. And then pull down the rest of the cover very carefully. Dino's now pulling on the straps to get the shape of the seat. We have to be careful here because we're talking about a very old material. So seat set 2 is now done. Seat set 1, which will come later, but as you can see, these are complete and great for now. I'm now working on the front brakes. These new discs are 10.8mm. I decided to use EBC's green stuff. With the shim, it's 18.5mm. The total measurement should come to 47.8, but this is about as accurate as I could get it. So now I'm trying to install the calipers over the brake pads, but they just don't fit with the shims in place. I posted this problem on the Australian Facebook group as well as emailed EBC, and overwhelmingly, remove the shims was the answer. So I popped the shims off easily and then measured it at 0.68. With the pads reinstalled, I'm now getting 46.34 and the calipers fit. Now to reassemble everything to test it, and you can see the pad on the right is moving back and forth. It's not fitting properly in place. I'm at Master Touch Automotive, where Maurizio is tacking on a little bit of metal onto the pad. This will help the brake pad fit in the caliper support bracket.
So what I'll do is I'll just go a little bit, because you need a little bit of movement in. They're not tight and they're not loose, so they won't jam.
I'm now sealing off the bare metal and then putting it back into the bracket. I'm doing a test fit here of all the components to make sure that movement's gone away, and sure enough, it's fixed. And now to reattach the gear stick and rod.
This gear stick is from a 4-speed and this one is from a 5-speed. One is chrome and one is black. They tend to be more chrome if they're 4-speed, but not always the case. You'll notice that the guts inside here are a little bit different. There's a plastic piece here and a spring. On the 4-speed, when you want to get into reverse, you actually push down and it goes into this slot and you pull back like that. On the 5-speed, it doesn't actually have that. It just goes in freely. The end point here is a little bit different. You've got a little bit of plastic here, is a little bit longer, and also the piece here is a little bit different as well. The mounting points are exactly the same.
Disassembling the 5-speed gear stick and removing these small little bushes first. I'm pulling it all apart to make sure nothing's cracked or broken, and you can see all the grease there has moved and migrated away from where the ball sits.
So this is the 4-speed stick and the 5-speed side by side. You'll notice that the length is slightly different. Also the spring there, because that bit actually moves up and down, with the other one is actually solid in place. They are interchangeable. This is the 4-speed gear stick and the 5-speed gear stick. This is connected to the rod of a 4-speed. You'll notice that there's a pin there, washer, and then you pull it apart with a large kind of lug here. The 5-speed is a little bit different. It has its own lug internally. So when you pull it apart, it's actually inside here. They are actually interchangeable though, so you can put that one onto here, and this one will fit. A little bit snug, but not that bad.
Now to really re-grease that ball part so it moves freely inside the chamber there, and then also grease up this little piece here which holds it in place. And now just to reassemble everything as it was before. Putting the old bushes back in place and then re-greasing the ball as much as I can from both sides. Inserting the 5-speed gear rod back in place and then putting this lug inside the hole of the gear stick. This will fit right in the middle here. This is a 5-speed factory correct bolt I'm putting in place in the correct direction in the manual, but I'll come back to that later. So I tighten the bolt and put the gear stick back in its hole. Now clamping the bellow around the gear rod, and then tighten the bolts on the gear stick. Attaching the lollipop to the gear rod and then connecting it to the gearbox. Some 5-speeds have this rather than the lollipop. I'm not sure what the benefit is over the other, but I'm going to use the lollipop style. I'm testing the shifting and I'm noticing something odd. You hear that tapping? That's the bolt hitting the side of the tunnel. So I'm just going to undo it and reverse it. I'm not sure why it's wrong, seeing the manual had it the other way around, but swapping it has fixed the problem. I'm now putting on the old tyres so I can put the car on the ground. This way I can let it settle to see how much clearance I have. But next time I use this brush and tighten this hose.